So welcome to another episode of flinderTalks, where me and Luke talk a little bit more about Flinder, what we do, how we do it, and the technology we use. So hey Luke, good to see you again. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. Nice long bank holiday weekend, so nice and refreshed. Good topic to talk about today on 5 different apps.
Exactly, and that is today's session. It is our top 5 apps at Flinder. So we're going to give you a rundown of the 5 apps that we most heavily use and most heavily rely on to become much more efficient as a business and get the most out of our team to deliver insight to our clients. So number 1 on the list, and I'm not sure if these are any specific order, but of our top 5, first one we're going to talk about is Asana. So Asana is a project management tool. Sorry, Luke, go for it.
No, I was about to say that Asana is kind of fundamental and key to us, being project management tool in terms of getting the team organised, making sure we're organised, and the thing that's become more and more important, and perhaps you give a little bit more about the app in a minute, but one of the key things for us as the business has continued to grow, it helps us with that scalability because we need that overall view of how the business is doing, where different projects are at, whether that's finance, delivery, data, or consulting part of the business, and we're able to then pull that data into dashboards, etc. as well. So that giving us the overall hybrid view of the business is really important.
One of the things I love about Asana, you have different kind of aspects that you really like using it, and the team using it in your capacity as kind of leading operations. But from my perspective, I love to be able to go in and just kind of see the RAG status, or for those that don't use the terminology RAG, red, amber, green, how projects are actually meeting deadlines and which ones are at risk. So which ones are red, actually behind project status, which ones are amber, maybe at risk of meeting the project deadlines, and those that are green, which are obviously well in time to meet their project deadlines. So for me personally, I love the RAG status functionality within Asana. It really works so super well to be able to take a snapshot and understand where the risks are in the business.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah. What other types of functionality do you like in Asana?
So one of the things we've started exploring more recently is some of the automation you can have in it as well. So you can do like contingent rules. So if you change the status to red status, you could do it so it drives off a reminder to someone or a notification to someone. So that's one of the things we've started to explore a little bit more. But the portfolio views as well is really useful, where you can actually bring in a certain number of projects. So if I use finance delivery as one of the areas, one of our finance managers, I look after 10 different projects, and they can get a very distinct dashboard view within Asana. So it's keeping it all in one place as well. So a couple of kind of functions in there, that's good.
Yeah, and actually what I really like about it is that it brings the entire business together. So both external client projects, whether that's recurring finance work or consulting work, but also internal work. So we have strategy as a portfolio with multiple different projects within that as well. So we can see the entire business really, the status of internal and external projects. So really, really great place to house all of that. So Asana, first one of our top 5 apps at Flinder that we use. Second one, Luke, one that's really close to my heart that I've been interviewed on a few times, is AirTable. AirTable is this kind of, essentially it's a spreadsheet on steroids in terms of what you can do with the data in there, in terms of the columns and the rows, and even if you insert a new row, it doesn't break something further down the chain if you're linking data from and to it. So we use Airtable quite heavily in our business as a data repository tool, and we sometimes use it on clients as well, but most of all we use it ourselves within Flinder to grab data and to then house and store it to later use and utilize that data, don't we?
Yeah, and the flexibility of it as well is amazing. One of the key functionalities that we like the use of is around the form view as well. So any database that you have, you can actually turn into a form and collect data. So we're doing that for some different consulting projects. But a good example of how we use it internally is for our feedback currently. Actually, there's a form view that anyone can fill in. They can give feedback, and it's defined off the metrics that's already in the database. So we can list all our employees in there, and therefore you just select the employee you're giving feedback on. So it's a great way to actually get data in as well through the form view. We have other kind of other external pieces that we push out to clients as well, where we collect data effectively into there, which then means, it's all very well getting the feedback, or whether it's client feedback, internal feedback, but if you can't then use that data, if it's not in a good form, And then talking about Excel on steroids is a great example, because there is a reliance on Excel for collecting data, things like that, but Excel will go wrong, formulas will break, add in a row, and as the example you gave, it could screw everything else up. So using a tool like Airtable is fantastic for getting around some of those issues as well.
And I love the integrations that Airtable has. It has an open API, so it means we can develop custom integrations, which we have done. We push data in from our CRM system, which is Pipedrive, straight into Airtable. We extract data from Airtable, we manipulate it, and then we even post data back into different bases within and tables within Airtable. Very, very powerful, and really, world's your oyster in terms of the API and what you can do with the data and connect to it. Obviously, there's some native integrations in there. We use Typeform to Airtable. So Typeform, you mentioned the form functionality in Airtable. It's good, but actually Typeform is a much more beautiful kind of engaging user interface or user experience than kind of the native form. But we use it for grabbing things about our brand, content calendar, our strategy. We do a whole host of prospecting in there. We do, it's the engine to our operations for our client master data. We store contractual commitments in there. We have our NPS data in there from our clients. We have, elements of our team are documented in there. We grab information and ideas from the team. Feedback, as you mentioned, there's a whole host of, I'm counting up here. I probably have about 20 or so databases which we heavily leverage within Flinder across all those different domains that I've just mentioned. So very, very powerful. I think primarily, the most important part of it is we use it for our client master data. It's the engine really to one version of the truth of our client data in terms of us as a practice, as a business. Very, very powerful. So Luke, leading on to the next one, it's Slack.
Yeah, so Slack's fantastic. There's kind of several uses for Slack actually. So perhaps if I kind of talk through a couple of those. Internal communications for the team, perhaps we'll come back to that. The second one is client collaboration, communications with clients as well. So on my Slack, for example, I've got like 15, 20 different logos going down the side of it, which are all the different client channels that I can access. So they're kind of the two key functionalities in it. There are things like you can do video calls, you can do voice calls within it, and we do adopt kind of almost the best in class type approach, as we say. So we typically use, say, Zoom or Teams or something like that when we're doing video meetings with clients, because they're just that much better for the video functionality. But in terms of a communication tool with a client, those very quick kind of questions they may have, and also embeds and becoming part of the team. It's so much more kind of personable when actually someone can just drop you a quick message over Slack. So it's fantastic. I know integrations, I'll let you pick up on that one, because like you touched on Airtable, that's another functionality that's fantastic in Slack.
Yeah, and one of the great things about Slack, about comms, is it's kind of the notification center of our business. I don't have to be involved in any correspondence, any emails or anything like that, but I can see literally popping up. I can go into any one of a number of different channels that we've got set up there, that all of those other tools we've talked about, and even some more that we're coming to talk about, they provide notifications within Airtable. So straight away we can see what's our NPS score that's popped up in there. We can see changes to our master data. We can see prospects that have come into there. We can see sales. We can see ideas that have come from the team. We can see feedback that's coming in from the team. We can see volumetrics that have changed. Everything at that command center of Slack, we can see literally as it happens real time from another application in the business. Really, really powerful to stay on top as you scale a business and have kind of, other people doing those activities and still staying in touch with it. Really, really powerful. And then our fourth one we want to talk about is Notion. So Notion is something we probably implemented about 18 months ago, recommendation from a client of ours to look at it. And really Notion has become the kind of the center of documenting our processes and the way of thinking, the way we do things at Flinder, which is really, really important to us and is very particular in the way in which we do things as a business, because we have a slightly different mentality to a traditional firm. And so it documents our kind of methodology about running and transforming the finance function. So that's the Flinder effect. It can be also our staff handbook. It can be the way in which we onboard a client. It can be the way in which we operate a particular cycle with a client. The way we run particular activities within the business, like our account planning workshops, our pitch it sessions. But equally, and that's us internally as a business, isn't it, Luke? But equally, from a client-specific perspective, it's really, really powerful because it's where we house exactly the process manual, really, for each of our clients.
Yeah, and it comes back to, I think I mentioned it on Asana, it helps with the scalability as well. So as the finance team, using that as kind of a delivery example, continues to grow, actually, how do we do that process on one client? All that knowledge can't just be held in the head of one or two key team members. As we grow, we're now a finance team of 16, 17 people. So that knowledge is shared across the team. If someone's then sick for whatever reason or they're on annual leave, those processes have to be documented to give the continuity of service to our clients. It's a risk otherwise. They're used to a fantastic response time, they're used to high quality, and therefore if we don't have that process documented and that person's off, we lose all of that knowledge from the business. So internal process is really fundamental, and also our client delivery processes as well.
Yeah, so that's the 4 of the 5 that we're going to talk about. Each of those have native iOS apps on Apple and presumably Android as well, but they're native applications. They're super easy to use on the fly, either my iPad or my iPhone. I can see what's going on, really, really easy to see and to use. And then our 5th one we'll mention is Clipfolio. And I think actually what's worth kind of pausing on, which maybe we'll pick up in a second when we'll talk about some that are worth a mention, is that every single app we've talked about in Flinder that are our top 5 apps, none of them are specific to the accounting world. And I think that's really important, is that actually what we're doing is that we're a business, we're building a business, we're building a scalable business. We want to be productive, we want to communicate, we want to deliver insight, we want to grab data. That's not specific to an accounting firm. That's general across good, well-structured, organized, scalable businesses. And we're no different in that sense. We've obviously got specific front office apps that we use, which we'll maybe kind of mention in a minute. But actually, these are about much broader than accounting. They're much broader than accounting. So our 5th one is Clipfolio. Some people may have heard me mention Clipfolio before. We do a lot of data visualization with our clients and what we deliver to our clients. We obviously heavily leverage that internally within our business to understand or to grab insights and to really make actions on the back of those insights. Sometimes we call it the Flinder app, and I'll talk a little bit more in a second about Project Liberty. But at the moment, Clipfolio is a data visualization tool. It means that we can grab data from multiple applications, not just finance, non-financial data, and we can stitch it together in Clipfolio and represent that visually for our entrepreneurial clients to get more of a feel of what's going on in their business. And we'll design that bespoke for our clients, our businesses, the strategy they have, the metrics and the questions that they need answering. And so that's Clipfolio. And of course, our entire finance team use Clipfolio, Luke, to write the management commentaries and bring out real insight for each of those clients as and when they're writing the monthly commentary.
Yeah, so it's so that kind of almost touches on what we can do for client delivery side of it, and when you talk about Liberty in a second, I guess I'll cover some of this as well. But the fact of we practice what we preach, having key management information, KPIs, metrics is so important for a business. That's where we have all of our data as well. So we touched about the ability for these other apps to native integrations. So the fact that we bring data in from AirTable, we bring data in from Harvest, which is our time recording. We can then look at profitability of our jobs. We link it into Asana, so we can then have a hybrid, like an overall view of all the project statuses and grouped by portfolio, by pods. So again, we use that internally as well. So it's got a fantastic external use, but also it's really important that we use it properly internally as well.
It's not the simplest to use in the back end, does it look, in terms of stitching the data together, working with APIs and working with XPath.
That's why we have a data team. I leave it to them. I tell them what I want.
It's exactly. Exactly. So not for the faint-hearted. I think it's worth saying Clipfolio, we're kind of moving on from Clipfolio and we're developing our own kind of product for us internally, and maybe releasing it externally. We're calling it Project Liberty at the moment, but essentially it's taking that to another level and adding significantly more customization, because we feel a little bit constrained at the moment by kind of what's available to us in Clipfolio and the constraint of somebody else's roadmap, basically. So Project Liberty is our way around that, really, to open up kind of the realm of insight even more and make it even more customizable, work with much bigger data sets, so even working with big data and using much more powerful analytics, data analytics to deliver that insight to our clients. So there are top fives at Flinder we use. So Asana, Airtable, Slack, Notion, and Klipfolio. I think, Luke, we're also going to mention, a couple that we used from a kind of front office finance function perspective as a teaser for another video that's coming out soon, which is our top five finance apps that we use at Flinder. So maybe just pick up on the first one.
Yeah, absolutely. So Telleroo is a payment solution, and we won't go into too much more detail than that, otherwise we'll be taken away from kind of the next one where we share a bit more around our kind of finance app stack. But yeah, Telleroo is an app we've been working with probably for about a year, and really good efficiency, control, overall visibility as well.
Yeah, great. Any others that you would like to call out? There's obviously some of the ones that we'll cover, such as Receipt Bank, Xero, Go Cardless, but maybe touch on Xavier. We talk about cleanliness of data and how that is important, and data quality to make the right decisions. When we talk about data, we talk about financial and non-financial, but Xavier obviously hit the financial data market and really focusing on data cleanliness and health score of 0.
Yeah, and Xavier is fantastic exactly for that. Like the data is key. It's a fantastic tool for bringing all that data front of mind in a very kind of distinct visual way as well. They give a kind of a health score. You of course need to go in and understand what that actually means, because I don't know, a duplicate transaction, it could be that it's genuinely a duplicate transaction, but it pulls out all of those key different parts that you need to look at. So it's a very quick way, like on the pulse type of way, to find out if there could be issues, and then it's very quickly to investigate those as well. So just kind of in the worth to mention kind of type area as well, we of course haven't talked about like the reliance on like the Microsoft products we use, of like Excel, Outlook, etc. They're much for the same, I guess, whether people are using Google, whether they're using Microsoft, etc. We of course heavily kind of rely on those, but we haven't kind of touched on those because it's kind of outside of the apps and technology apps that we use.
Another one we've not talked about is UiPath, but I think in the interest of kind of our top 5 apps, we're sticking with Asana, Airtable, Slack, Notion, and Klipfolio. And Luke, if you had to put your money on which is your favorite, what would that be? If you had to choose a favorite.
So I'd say favourite is probably Airtable. I just like
got a convert.
Kind of sexy and fun to use as well. So it's just like when you change your grouping in it and you see all the data move in front of your eyes. It's actually just quite slick and quite cool in that respect. And some of the bits that we do off the back of it as well. So tracking like our scope versus actual, whether that's transactions, number of payroll, just some of the bits that I have to do from an operations perspective, looking at the portfolios that our finance managers, SAs look after, etc. You're able to group it, you're able to move things around. If we ever wanted to do kind of a reshuffle in it, could just add another column, do kind of proposed allocations, things like that. Just very quick and easy to play with as well.
Brilliant.
What about yours?
I tried to get out of that because I'm struggling between Airtable, Slack, and Klipfolio. One, I love the visualizations. Of course, that's the end product. That's what it's about. It's helping insight. We're migrating away from that, so I'll probably bring that notch down a notch. Slack, it's all about comms. It's all about communication. That's what you need to stay in touch with your team, your clients, your business. So I love the comms, obviously part of Slack. But Airtable as well, I'm a huge advocate. So I think it's a toss-up between Airtable and Slack, to be honest. It's a dead heat for me between the two of them. Love them both. Always on both of them, as you well know, weekend and during the week. So so check them out. Hope you found this video useful, enjoyable. Check out all those apps: Asana, Airtable, Slack, Notion, and Klipfolio. Be sure to subscribe to this to hear more videos like this and flinderTalks, and give us a thumbs up, and we'll catch you again soon. Thank you.